2.0 in my eyes is probably one of the most important things, because that's where you can actually dump and fail.
Play with my name. 25, 26 Range Rover, back to back.
A lot of people will actually go into the market and try to copy me. It's just like how I'm gonna get away from someone else, ripping my ads, ripping my momentum, and actually, scaling on my wave.
I'm on style and no copying, and you can tell it just ain't a phase. I grew up with niggas that hustle, they came up for nothing at my age.
I guess we touched a bit on us launching a supplement product, the way we approach this in terms of feedback loops, the way we approach this in terms of, in general, how we come up with ideas, angles, offers, and, how we go through the manufacturing process. In, I guess, Miami vlog, we've had the actual sample that we received. But after all, I got thinking, how we're gonna get ahead and how we're gonna actually build something sustainable, something with, first of all, enterprise value, second of all, something that can actually grow, and it's no longer a trendy product, it's an evergreen product that will turn into sustainable, predictable multiple nine figures in revenue. But then I was looking around, looking around in terms of my network, in terms of people who've actually scaled to 9 figures and actually sustained the 9 figures. I spotted these two patterns. One is that basically whenever someone scales so-called trendy product, which means they took that product as, their core, which is coming from so-called trendy product, patterns, which means, it has no moat, it has no evergreen type of thing. It's just, a new trend popped up, they found a mechanism, they use that mechanism to scale, and they drive volume through angles, whatever, and they actually get rolling and they hit the 9 figures. Most of them, they're actually having a hard time sustaining that growth, because the trend wave disappears and the wave they've been riding, actually is no longer there. So then it got me thinking, how we're actually going to approach this, and how we're going to approach in terms of, picking the product and then scaling the product, and what's going to be my next step. Because, from what I've seen throughout the years, picking the next step, the third step, the fourth step, before actually launching thing, it will, not necessarily give you the actual roadmap, because that, might potentially change. The market is changing so fast. But that will potentially give you, a state of mind with which you're actually going into the market and launching the product with. So in my eyes, those were actually crushing it. First of all, they take an evergreen product, which means it's not a trend wave. It's not some sort of easy, pump and dump type of thing. They take a product that's evergreen and they can sell pretty much any time. And they find ways with marketing, with moat, with, changing angles, changing mechanisms, whatever. They find ways to actually scale this. They have the back end, which means, they either have some sort of LTV model built in, they have some sort of multi-channel approach, they have, let's say retail Amazon approach, these kind of things. And then most importantly, they think in steps. So the thing they go with right now is going to be 1.0. The next thing is going to be 2.0. The thing further is going to be 3.0. And the 2.0 in my eyes is probably one of the most important things, because that's where you can actually dump and fail. And in my eyes, the way I approach it is just thinking of 2.0 version of the product, because I know exactly that as I scale, as I create a trend myself on an evergreen problem, on evergreen audience, a lot of people will actually go into the market and try to copy me. So that's my 2.0. It's just how I'm gonna get away from someone else, ripping my ads, ripping my momentum, and actually, scaling on my wave. And in my eyes, 2.0 is gonna be where I'm gonna change the product slightly, which means I'll know exactly, my audience, and I'll know exactly why they buy or why they don't buy. And knowing this, I can actually change or tweak the angle a little bit from the product itself, which means I can take out a packaging aspect of it. I can take out usability aspect, like consumption and shit like that. Then I can take out, let's say, the way in general my manufacturing works, the way my active ingredients work, and I can come up with 2.0 version from the get-go, which means, whenever I'm launching up, I generate momentum. It's going to be quite hard for them to rip off because my product is custom at first, but then it's going to take them, let's say 3 months, 6 months, potentially 12 months, depending on, how good they are to rip off, which means I know that after like 3 or 6 months, I'll start developing my 2.0 version, which will have a tweaked angle. Like, let's say I sell some sort of like cream, and that cream has, let's say it solves like really specific problem, like, let's say wrinkles on your neck, or in your face. And now literally I have this jar, and on that jar, inside I have the cream, and that's my 1.0. 2.0 could be, let's say, instead of having a jar and the cream, I have some sort of like mechanism on top, like, the cap, where instead of putting my fingers in, I would have, some sort of like press button, and then, the cream comes out. Which means in that case, I can change the narrative, I can play around, and I can say, active ingredients no longer work if you put your finger in, because then bacteria and air and everything hits. And, if I have a guy ripping me off, in terms of, ads, funnels, whatever, and he's using my OG mechanism, and I already have 2.0, I'll just let him run, I won't even bother DMCAing him. I would just let him run. He's creating awareness for me. He's basically bringing in people into my funnel, and with a 2.0 version, which I'm going to launch, I would tackle solution aware, product aware, pretty much audience with this specific tweak. So that's pretty much how I think about, the timeline, and how I'm going to build into like 9 figures, multiple 9 figures, and enterprise value in terms of, how e-com D2C works, and, how competition works, and in general, like how, the whole dynamics of the market works. So 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, double down on 2.0 at first, because that's, where you can actually be aware of it right from the get-go. And then, tackle your competition, because they will probably kill momentum at 2.0. And at least, the way it happens with the trendy products, with, the products that have no moat. And the other thing actually was, it's a concept of basically that, e-com growth and marketing in general, e-com is like placing bets. And in my eyes, when I was thinking about like, again, my 1.0, 2.0, whatever, and how I'm gonna gain that momentum, how I'm gonna switch back to, and introduce like completely new, like 2.0 version product. I'm gonna, sustain the momentum. I was thinking, like how it's gonna happen in form of marketing, in a form of growth. And one of the big things out there, I understood the way I'm gonna approach my strategy is gonna be like thinking in bets, which means every single step I'm gonna take, I will have probably like a ton of these steps every single day, every single week, every single month. I'm gonna think of them as like placing bets, which means if I know and if I have data to prove that, let's say we go to casino, we have like black and red, and let's say black has a chance of winning, which is like, let's say 70%, and then red has a chance of like, 30%, then I'm gonna place my bets on black, which means I have data to prove that. I'm gonna place on black. Most importantly, if chance is, let's say 50-50, or if you're not aware of the chance, but it can move the needle so much. So let's say the chance is exactly 50-50, 50% of losing it all, or losing, let's say 50-70% of the budget. And then let's say, your other half has a chance of, let's say, growing by 2x, and then losing, the same amount of money. So then I'm gonna take this black, bet, like with 2x the revenue, with all the growth that I might experience, with a risk of losing. But then I know that in the long run, I'm gonna take huge amounts of those bets. I'm gonna take like thousands of them every single week, every single month, which means at the end of the day, I'm just gonna get out there as the winner, which means, I'm gonna place my bets in the right direction, even though I'm gonna lose some. If I win at least once, it's gonna, pretty much double, triple, whatever, the business or, specific area of ecom. So yeah, that was another really important concept to me, at least what I understood about like, this new product coming up. And yeah, to summarize, first of all, the way products work, and what kind of product scale, what kind of products, sustain scale, most importantly. Second of all, 1.0, 2.0, 3.0 versions of the product, and how I'm going to sustain my momentum throughout, you know, the timeline, being ahead of the market. And then finally, placing bets where, you know, like I either have data and I can clearly see that, you know, this makes sense, or placing bets in the way where it's like, you know, I don't have the data, it's like pretty much 50-50, or I have data from the past experiences and it's 50-50, but then I bet on the one which has a chance of winning, which is like way higher outcome than, let's say, a chance of losing. So yeah, that's pretty much what's been on my mind lately. And now we're gonna wrap it up and potentially shoot some more stuff around this topic, because that's where, you know, that's where the magic happens. In strategic, intentional planning, preparation, that's where I would say I spend like 80% of the times, because 20% is just execution and data gathering, which means you're either proving or disproving, you know, proving your point or not proving your point. And all you have to do is just hit exactly that, the feedback loop, and the feedback loop on your intention. If the intention was all right, you're going to continue to double down. If not, you know, you will bring on some more complexity to find out, you know, how to get out there. My big idea of creating content, you know, it could be X, it could be YouTube, it could be Instagram, like I'm currently doing it, has always been, you know, start doing content, you know, start thinking about doing content and start, you know, finding your own approach. When you actually get there in the trenches, spend, you know, at least 2, 3, 4, 5 years. In my case, it's just been like 6, 7 years now, maybe even more, to be honest. Spend that time in the trenches, so then you can actually get out and start, you know, expressing yourself, you know, your thinking process, your, you know, basically patterns that they've seen across the years, the learnings that you got, the real life data and experience that you've gained, and start, you know, basically spreading that, you know, to the masses, to the public. And one of the things, you know, if I compare, you know, where I am right now and where I was, you know, let's say a few years ago, was that I wouldn't feel comfortable to get out here in Dubai, to sit in this nice balcony, basically share the value, share the sauce, because my thinking process wouldn't be that strong. I wouldn't have enough dots to connect them into the whole picture and give it to you guys, because I didn't have enough experience. I didn't go through that many ad accounts, that many cases, that many brands growing, failing, you know, getting back on track, scaling and non-scaling. And that's probably one of the big things why it took me so long to get out there in a space and, you know, start being public, because I was pretty intentional about like, when should I talk? Where is my strong parts? Where are my less strong parts? And now, as I'm aware of it, I'm conscious about it, I can, you know, freely go to like, you know, events, travel, meet people, be public about it, most importantly, and show you guys all of it, because I got the tools in my toolbox. If you remember from my previous Dubai video, I guess that was my first video in this YouTube channel, I was giving you the exact same, you know, process of like thinking of things as tools in your toolbox, and whenever something goes wrong, you have the tool, you're kind of like a Swiss knife for every single problem out there. You know, you can pull out certain levers, you know, you can pull out certain like falling knives, just because you know exactly what's not working, and you have every single tool in the toolbox to actually pull. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts about creating content and being public, and why I'm doing it and how I'm actually approaching it. And yeah, it's been an amazing journey so far. It has been like probably, I don't know, like few months I'm doing this, but so far I've seen probably way more value from, let's say, using my time and my effort and my brain power and, you know, in general, my energy in creating, let's say, this content and, you know, talking to people and expressing myself and getting myself out there than, let's say, you know, sitting and you know, watching Netflix. So my thing here is that I'm gonna be out there more and more. I'll try to actually get on the stage more times a year. I'll try to shoot and show every single detail to you guys, because that was my intention from all the way back from 2019, 2018, when I actually started doing this whole e-com journey.